Shut up and sit down.
I'm totally gonna go vegan this season.
My mind's on fire, so I ride my bike. I'm riding harder than a hurricane. Love is
You shaved your legs? Does shaving your legs really make a difference? Man, shaved legs make such a difference. Look at that guy with the hairy legs.
I saw the old you for a second there. My mother made me.
You are listening to the Dial Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Optional listening required.
And get that runner's high.
I'm totally going vegetarian this season. Eating is cheating, man. I think protein's really gonna help me out in my season. Hey man, do you have a gel?
That runner's high. Babe, I think I found what it means to be alive.
You guys have some lube I can borrow?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and I'm here with Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking, I'm not going to lie, you're not looking that great. You're not looking that great today, guys.
Some of us are
You're
a little,
looking fan-freaking-tastic. That's how you're looking, okay?
right on. Coming to us over the Verizon network again, Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler coming at you from Fountain Hills, Arizona. Look at that sunshine and palm trees.
Verizon sponsorship.
And sunshine.
Suck it.
That's right.
Suck it. Freaking Hepler. Hey, guys, guess what? I got a question for you.
What's everybody drinking today?
What? Special guest. Special special.
Also coming to us over the Verizon network, Mr. Evan Price.
From beautiful, absolutely icy SHIT hole, Vancouver, Washington. God, I hate you, Lance. On my trainer in my garage, which is about 45 degrees, balmy 30 degrees outside. Oh, guys, this is just great. I'm drinking 5 bottles worth of sugar here. What are you guys drinking?
Same thing as Matt. What you drinking, Matt?
Bubbly. Actually, I picked up a couple of these at the grocery store before the storm. I don't know. Maybe the storm. It was weird. Like this, we've got a storm going on here. I guess we should mention that in the podcast. But the like an ice storm. But it was weird. Like it kind of came in soft, and they like canceled everything, and then it got bad.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, we got to keep canceling stuff.
Yeah, we wake up every day to another announcement. Oh, by the way, everything is shut down.
And it was like there was no problem for the first day or two.
Yeah, what are we on, day 3 now? This is the 3rd day in a row of us being like encrusted in ice, but we had a snowstorm prior to that.
Yeah, but it was like 5 days of cancellation or whatever.
Yeah, it's been a fun one. I know that my house is probably surrounded by a good inch and a half of ice right now.
Yep.
About that. It just keeps accumulating.
Oh.
And it started to warm up, and you started to see some rain coming from the sky, and it stopped, being freezing rain. And we're like, oh, sweet, we're going to finally start to unthaw. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Yeah, Mother Nature's like, nah, we're not done yet. It's going to give us another
It all froze again.
good 24 hours of freezing rain.
Yeah, it's like
So
freezing rain.
what-
It's
What blows my mind with this, I know I'm going to sound like that cranky Midwesterner complaining about the Pacific Northwest. They were talking on the radio that they were going to quote-unquote, de-ice the roads after the snowstorm. Anybody who even knows moderately anything about road care knows that that's, once it snows, you're under 4 inches of snow, you're not going to de-ice anything. And then we just have an ice skating rink out here. And I'm like, what is ODOT doing with their mind? That's insane. Like
Is that a Vancouver thing?
It's amazing.
I know that when I was driving around before the snow hit, you could see all of the de-icing streaks on the road here in Camas. So they were
Vancouver was good. Vancouver was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, for, outside of neighborhood roads. But the main roads of Vancouver were great. Portland did not treat the roads prior to the storm hitting.
Oh,
and it was a disaster over there because I work over there. It was terrible.
I've seen like little video clips, little shorts and whatnot. People letting their dogs outside to go like use the bathroom. And it's pretty funny. Some people live on a slope and the dog walks out, takes a step on the ice and just like slides away. He's like, bye, doggy.
Down the hill. I know.
That actually, that happened to our dog too.
Oh, really?
I mean, we don't like, we were able to get our dog back, obviously, but like, our dog's just like scared to go outside now.
We've got a pup. She's almost like 8 or 9 months old now, and she's never dealt with this before. My older dog has, so he kind of gets it, but he's still slip sliding around. She ran out there and slid, and like was like, whoa, what the heck? And then like it's raining, and she doesn't like the rain for some reason.
Yeah.
Get used to it, Lola. But she tried to shake it off, and she totally like wiped out. Like feet went out from underneath her. She landed on her side. She's like, ugh, like oh crap, that sucked. So it's been kind of funny. It's been comedy, like watching the dogs run outside. We'll usually like open the door and throw a ball out there or a treat, or they love the laser pointer, so we'll like do that to get them running outside with a full head of steam. Exactly, they're terrible, like just like cats, and they'll go run out full head of steam, and the next thing you know, they're like sliding into the bushes. It's actually comedy gold that I should be recording, but fast forward, I'm not. You guys, how about a little backpedal? Lance raced his bike this past week.
Oh yeah,
dare we start with Lance, or do you want to go first, Matt?
I can be quick. I did
How about
not race
this?
my bike.
Let's do. I'll go first.
Okay,
and I'll be super quick. I did nothing. All right, Matt, go.
I saw you at the weight room.
This is true.
I did see Jake at the weight room. So you did less than nothing. You did something.
Yes, I did. Did my normal gym, but that's nothing to talk about. I've got nothing fun to report. It's same thing, different weather. Moving on. Go.
Everything's been canceled, and so like swim and all this stuff was canceled. So I took my kids to the pool on Sunday because the weather wasn't that bad on Sunday. It was you're able to get out and about, and did our own like swim workout with a couple of kids from the team. And then that's when things got worse. And since that time, I've just been indoor biking. So
you took your kids to the pool and then went from bad to worse. Did you flush when you were done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a double flusher. but yeah. So I've swam some and I've biked some, and I haven't been running much because I need Evan to fix my hip / quad / I would say something.
Hey Evan, can we get a BOGO over here? A little buy one get one free.
Yeah.
We'll take the bat to both of you here, as I told Matt this weekend.
That would be a vast improvement.
The only way to fix it is to take a bat.
If it doesn't fit it, just put me out of my misery, man.
One of those bats with nails poked.
We have to hit the other leg though, so you're more concentrated on that leg than you are the leg that's been bothering you. So
that's the key.
That's the key. Yeah,
your leg doesn't hurt anymore now, does it?
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
Right on. Anything else, Mr. Legrand?
That's it.
No, cool.
I mean, it's looking like we're not going to have any school this week.
Yeah, good times.
Basically,
yeah. Homeschool.
Homeschool. It's tough. It's tough at my house too, with everyone in there, and they're getting they've got a lot of energy because they're used to swimming like an hour or 2 hours a day, and so there's a lot of energy, not a lot of direction or anywhere to put that energy. So,
can you fashion up some sort of like sled or something like that you can have them go, swim around on a sled?
I should have them like shoveling ice is what I should have them do. It's like Frozen when they're just like making ice. Like, yeah, I'm trying to sell this ice in a snowstorm.
Have them chip it out and go to the neighbors and say, you guys want to buy some ice?
Buy some ice. We're selling ice here.
Right on. Evan has not raced, but I'm guessing he's getting tuned up for something that's on the horizon, and I'm sure he has something to tell us. What's up, Evan? Want to backpedal for us?
I'm sure he's trained a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of my start of January was getting back into some structure and basically just trying to play with the big boys this year. So it's 4 weeks at about 28 to 30 hours a week of training, and it has become an indoor fest, which was definitely not what I was hoping for, but it's okay. I'm exactly halfway through the block right now, ton of training, and then 2 weeks of high intensity, and then I'll be off to Tucson or a Valley area for 2 weeks to train. So
sweet.
Yeah. When are you going to be down there, Evan?
I was going to message you, Lance, actually. February 23rd to March 4th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I will be. Well, that's right after training camp. That's during our team training camp.
Is it? Okay, gotcha.
Or it's the week after our team training camp. And I'll be in Scottsdale actually. So.
Oh well, if you want to shoot up for a day or two, you're welcome to go. I mean, we got a pretty
down
good crew. So
south.
Honestly, I don't think I could hang with you guys, honestly. Not on a time trial bike. So
when I say fun, I mean 4 hours of tucked in arrow at know at some wattage that nobody wants to be holding.
Evan, is Ari Klaus gonna ride with you guys? Is he gonna do that trip with you, or is he seems like he's in Australia?
So, he's pretty locked into Australia right now. When he comes back, he might, but odds are he's probably gonna end up locking into a home block for a bit, and then he's gonna go race St. George.
Okay.
Well, me and Josh will start the season with Oceanside. So
I wonder how Australia is going for him.
He's enjoying. I mean, it is brutal. He's swimming 40K a week.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, that's the game now. It is. The game is you better be able to swim, you better be able to bike a lot, and obviously run really fast. So he is trying to get the swimming part of the equation down for himself because he's going to be racing the World Championship this year.
World Championship is where you're talking about the half Ironman World Championships, I
New
assume.
Zealand, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Half Iron World Championship in New Zealand.
Sweet. Right on.
Yep.
Hepler, Lance friggin' Hepler raced his bicycle this past week, and he gets to do the first official back pedal of the year. Go, Lance. What's up?
Well, I hate it in, guys, but the training weather down here in the Phoenix area has been perfect. It's 75 and sunny today here in Phoenix, so it's been quite nice. Yeah, we talked last week about whether I should jump into this race or not, and I went and showed up race morning, and they did have registration. It was called the McDowell Meltdown. It was a mountain bike race, all on single track mountain bike trails. Not very. What's that?
Is it like Coming to America where he's like, that's McDonald's, they have Big Mac, this is McDowell's, we have Big Mark or something. I don't remember what it was, but like that there's like this McDowell's like restaurant that he works at. I think it's Coming to America. I assume that is exactly how the whole race went, and Eddie Murphy was there.
You there, Lance?
He's cutting in and out.
I'm going to support you on that one, Matt. That's a hilarious reference.
Like, you can't just start throwing out McDowell in there. And
that's a podcast gold comment right there, Matt. Thank you for that reference.
The least I can do.
It's perfect.
There he's back. Go for it, Lance.
Now?
Yes.
Yeah, so the elite race was starting. The Cat 1 elite race was starting at 8:30 in the morning. It was like 34 degrees. And so I didn't really want to race the Cat 1, so I signed up, which I thought would be the correct category for me, which was the intermediate race in the 50 to 59 field. And started at like 10:15, so the weather was a whole lot nicer. It was like 15 degrees warmer. And so there were 30 guys that were in that field, and I thought this is going to be good. I mean, obviously, I'm not prepped. This is not a race on the schedule. I was not prepped for it at all. It was literally, let's just line up and see what happens. I mean, I did like an hour and a half of sweet spot the day before. So I was literally training right through this and just kind of going to see what was going to happen. But I lined up on the front row because that's what I do. And there were 30 of us in the field. They blew the whistle. Within about 2 minutes, I was sitting on one guy's wheel. So he was in first. I was in second. I looked behind me, and we already had like a 10-second gap on the whole field. And I thought, okay, we are. And I'm telling the guy, I'm like, dude, we got a gap already. Let's just keep pushing. He's like, yeah, let's go. And so 4 minutes into the race, I went around him. And I'm like, okay, jump on my wheel. Let's do some work and try to, string this out a little bit further. And I went through like 4 corners pretty hard, and I gapped him, and I never person. That was it. I ended up. It was a 2-lap race, 20 miles total, about 2,500 feet of climbing, like sandy type mountain bike trails, nothing really that technical at all. I ended up winning that field by like 3 minutes. I think it was 3 minutes to second place and like 5 minutes to third place. So I wasn't fully. I was really unexpected. I did not think I would win by like 3 minutes, but I'm actually feeling really good right now. My legs feel good. I'm at a pretty decent weight at the moment. I feel like I'm training a little bit better. I don't know. It's shaping up to be a fairly decent year for me if I can stay healthy and not crash and not get sick. So that's what happened.
Did they give
You
you
look good, Lance. You look good.
so tan? Did you get a medal? You have any medals to show us?
Yeah. Wait,
Looky there.
can you see it right
Looky
here?
there. Oh, that's some bling right there. Is that real gold?
100%.
Yeah, it must be. It
Must
is
be.
100% real gold.
I assume that they give
Yeah.
that to the top number one superstars.
Yeah. So I had to stick around for a couple hours actually for the presentation. It was way late in the day, but there were like 500 people in this race. There was a lot of people there. They had a ton of junior divisions, a ton of women's divisions, elite fields, intermediate fields, beginner fields. I was really pleased when people showed up, but it's January in Arizona. So of course there's going to be a bunch of people here. So it's been pretty cool. So
Nice.
beyond that, my wife, she took third in her soccer tournament down here. That was the reason why we came down here. It was not for me to ride bikes. That is a byproduct of my wife's soccer tournament. So her team took third place down here at her soccer tournament. And then, and I've ridden like almost 20 hours for the week, which has been great. I've gotten some good rides in and I'm feeling pretty good, and we'll kind of see what happens. So
Sweet.
you have to see how it goes. Yeah, that's enough for me.
Right on.
What the
Hey,
heck, Flo?
is
Chambale.
down there?
Champ Bailey's probably.
Champ Bailey is here. I have no information at my fingertips because I'm not in a spot where I can look stuff up and actually FaceTime with you guys. I'd rather see Matt's lovely face than actually look at information. So that makes me happy.
I heard that that Red Bull took over Bora 100%. That's their team now. They're going to change all their naming. They already signed Wout van Aert. They signed Evan Pol. They're talking about dropping $100 million on Pogacar, and they're going to create the super team of all times. What do you guys think about that?
Okay. No, none of that is true.
Oh,
At least I know
that didn't happen? Oh.
So
Price.
Gosh darn, I got to start checking my
that didn't
sources.
How, like on a scale of 10 to 1,000,000, how's your Remco fandom going?
So what I think with this Red Bull thing too is Red Bull sees this on Netflix and they're like, okay, let's get in early. Maybe this will be like F1. They're going to pull their money at some point.
Yep.
Or they're going to revolutionize the sport and they're going to create the super team of all time and they're going to make it be something a little bit more commonplace. Come on, man. Be optimistic.
Yeah, the problem is one of those guys is Remco. Nobody in their right mind cheers for this guy. He's the least marketable dude ever.
Belgians like him. Belgians like him.
One of the smallest countries in Europe enjoys his personality.
Pretty cycling important. Pretty cycling important country. They still like him. So.
Lance, I want you to do me a favor. Go downtown Phoenix. Walk around and ask, do you know who Remco Evenepoel is? Count how many people have any clue who that is.
So I was reading this article
good point.
This article that was alluding to the 4 global big superstars, and I'm wondering if Evenepoel actually wrote this because the 4 most marketable global superstars are Wout, Pogacar, they have Van der Poel on there and Evenepoel. Do you agree with him being one of the big 4 of the world in terms of like the most marketable, like gold star, 5-star cyclists?
Remco's got to be number 1 and number 2 or 3. Yeah. Like he's probably on the list multiple times because he's that good.
So maybe it is the big 6, and then he's 1, 2, and 3.
Pidcock is way easier to market than Remco. Pidcock is likable. He's British.
I thought it was funny that they purposefully left Vingegaard off that list, and they just kind of said that he's a little bit too much of a stick in the mud. He's just not like charismatic enough to be in that stratosphere of cyclists.
I don't disagree that he's not that charismatic.
That's why he's going to win. It's because
Right.
he's not charismatic. He's good.
Yeah.
I like him. I think that doesn't mean that I'm not a fan, but he definitely doesn't have the same, like, if you're a lover of cycling, it's like so easy to cheer for Pogacar because he has more fun on the bike. You can tell.
Yeah.
So
he's really enjoying it. It's not a job for him. I mean, it pays the bills big time for him, but he doesn't treat it like a job. He just seems so happy and charismatic.
See, but I think that the purists of cycling, like your European real purists, love Vingegaard for that reason. He's old school. He's lower class. He has that story behind him. Pogacar's the guy that could hit it big on TikTok. Vingegaard would get 2 views on TikTok. Like, nobody cares.
True.
But he's going to win. Like, Pogacar won't beat Vingegaard now. He's too focused.
Not in
He's
a
too
Grand
boring.
Tour.
Yeah, I agree. Not in a Grand Tour. Vingegaard's locked in.
But
I still think there's a race to be had
a great
there.
personality.
A great person.
Remco will never beat Vingegaard in a Grand Tour that Vingegaard cares about.
Most likely to drop third person on you. Is that Remco?
Yeah.
That's enough said right there for me. But anyhow, do you guys
know who Zlatan Ibrahimovic is? The soccer player Zlatan?
No.
Yeah.
He talks in third person. He does. He's a very popular human being.
Was that the person that they based the character on from Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's Zlatan. Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Dude was funny.
He's the taller version of Remco in soccer, is what he is.
Nice. Well, it should be an interesting year for those boys to see what's going on. Lance, I don't think that there's been any more professional cyclocross races.
There's been a few. I know Clara Hansinger has raced a couple of times. She took, I believe, 5th in the elite field in one of the races she did, so that's good. I'm not sure the name of the races. The Tour Down Under is actually happening. There was Women's Tour Down Under. It was a 3-day stage race, and the Men's Tour Down Under, I believe they're on stage 3 today or something like that.
Yep.
Do you ask me who won the stages?
Bora Hansgrohe?
I don't know. Yeah, Bora, but that's right. Bora had Van Poppel lead out their sprinter, and he kind of crushed the field with a fantastic lead out. So Bora has already picked up a sprint win this year at the Tour Down Under. There aren't a lot of big names there, but Biniam Girmay is there. Caleb Ewan is there. There's a few other people, but a lot of the big names are prepping for Spring Classics.
Is Caleb Ewan
kind of
still with the same team, or did they kind of part ways and he's with somebody new this year? So I remember there was a little bit of a scuttlebutt with him at the Tour last year, and I think that the ownership of the team he was on wasn't terribly happy with him. Is he still there?
I want to say he's on a different team. I think he's on a different team, but I'm not sure.
Jake, you can check that, but I'm pretty sure he had to switch teams also because that team wasn't getting an invite to any Grand Tours.
Makes sense. Right on. Anything else? Any other news, boys?
Nope, tamp out.
Right on. Okay. Let's you guys want to do a Patreon drawing?
Sure.
I think it's about time. We haven't done that in a little while. So let's go ahead and do a little Patreon music here. Matt is going to pull a little Patreon name out of the jar of names, all those Patreons, and it is
the Mike Reddig.
The Mike Reddig. Not just Mike Reddig. It says the Mike Reddig.
It literally says the Mike Reddig.
Well, Mike Reddig, you are the
going here, right?
proud winner of a prize that's in the goodie bag down at the lab. I know that you're local, so you can swing by any time and grab some stuff out of there.
If you can get there.
If you can get there, just put your strap on your ice skates.
Yes.
We are open today.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Only for 3 hours. So if you, I don't know, we'll probably have this not out by then, but yeah, just come on by, throw on your skates, come on by, and we'll get you that little box of goodies for you to pick out of, and you'll get yourself set up. If you yourself want to become a patron to help support the Dialed Podcast, you can go to dialedpodcast.com, click on the Patreon link, and that will take you to Patreon to pick a Patreon level that works best for you. And we greatly appreciate your support. So thank you, everybody. Super duper appreciated. Hey, we're going to jump into our topic for the week. It's 2024, boys. It's our first time all of us being together in 2024, and it's there's a lot of things kind of on the horizon. There's some things coming up. So there's some trends and there's some things that are going to start coming out this year, and I wanted to get your guys' take on it. I've read a couple articles and kind of cross-meshed them together, and I've got a list of about 10 things. We'll run through them relatively quickly, and I want to know if you guys think it's going to happen, if you think it's hot or not, and what your take is on it. So the first thing is gravel bikes, because we love ourselves some gravel, right?
Okay.
Evan, you still racing gravel, doing all the gravelly things? On your
Oh God, no! That's ice. That is as cold as the outdoor weather for me right now. I wouldn't even. I'm not even sure if I want to run on gravel this year.
Yeah. Well, so we've got road bikes, and when you get into the road bike category, there's so many different types of bikes that you can choose from. You can go all the way from like your basic entry level commuter bike to like race specific to endurance bikes and everything in between. Gravel bikes are taking a page out of the road bike book, and I think this year you're officially going to see all of the different brands and manufacturers coming out with different varieties of gravel bikes. And in more times than not, it's going to be a race category, and then there's going to be like an adventure category, if you will. So
you're saying 2024 gravel bikes are going to expand?
They're going to expand. So you're going to start to see a little bit of different product categories within the gravel realm with respect to gravel bikes. Is that something you guys want to see? Is that something that you're excited about? Or do you think it's getting a little too ahead of itself and it's just kind of going to dilute the whole industry in its own?
Evan Price says cold. I'll say lukewarm. I mean, I think it's definitely possible that, I think we kind of already start to see this a little bit last year where it's like you can get suspension on your gravel bikes. You can kind of start to see like these different types of gravel bikes, which are kind of fun, right? Because then you can kind of take them on some different spots.
I mean, some of them are looking like a hardtail mountain bike with some drop bars on them, and that's effectively what they are. Do we need that?
Well, what's interesting is who's the guy that we had on the podcast a while back? Who he was racing his bike and he put drop bars on his mountain bike, and it might have been like hardtail mountain bike, and he was like he raced it and it was like good to go.
Dylan Johnson has done that. Dylan Johnson did that. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhat recently he did that, and it was like there's not much wrong with this.
Yeah.
He raced it like to some good performances as well. So,
well, in that breath, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going into the performance or the race genre of the gravel bike, and some of it, like at first glance, you're like, do I want that? I mean, if I'm going to go out and race, do I want to have that bike to be my do-it-all gravel bike? Because when you get into some of these bikes, you're talking about like a shorter head tube, so you're going to be in a more aero position. You're talking about more narrow bars. You're talking about a geometry that's maybe a touch more twitchy, and you're talking about a bike that's going to handle a lot differently than a lot of the gravel bikes that we've come to know and love.
I think it depends on the course, right? Like if it's like, yeah, this is just a flat gravel road, and okay, let's be honest though. There's a lot of people that are going to have to pick and choose between like, do I get the performance gravel bike or do I get the more adventure gravel bike? What am I going to use it for? Sure.
Like, I kind of want to race, but I don't know if I necessarily want to have a race bike for everything that I'm doing in all my gravel rides. And BMC is a perfect example of that. They've got the BMC URS, which Lance and I've been riding for quite a few years now, and then they've got the Cayuse, which is a very much race-inspired geometry. Have
you seen that bike in person?
Oh yeah, we've sold quite a few of them, and it's a beautiful bike. And man, it's got some narrow handlebars on it.
Oh, really?
They're 011 with the integrated cockpit on it with the full carbon fiber cockpit. And if I'm not mistaken, it's about a 37 centimeter width on the top of the bars there. Yeah. And it does flare a little bit in the drops, but a lot of times you're riding up on the hoods, that's a pretty narrow stance there, if you will. And you would think like, all right, if I'm riding off road, I kind of want something just a touch wider, just so I can have a little bit more control of the bike, just so it's not so twitchy. But that's the direction that they're going for sake of aerodynamics. Is that something that you guys are cool with? I mean, are you guys cool with all this stuff? I mean, I guess variety is the spice of life, but do you guys want that?
Well,
I tell you, I'd go plush, I think.
I have a lot of thoughts on the matter because I race gravel a lot. I have, 7 or 8 gravel races on my calendar this year that I'm going to do. And I tend to steer towards the more rowdy bike and not the race bike because I like taking those bikes on places they're not supposed to go. I mean, yesterday I rode 3 hours. I rode my gravel bike 3 hours on single track trails in the Brown Ranch area of Scottsdale, and it was perfect. I had a freaking riot. It was a blast. Could I have done that On a BMC Cayuse, yeah, I'm sure I could have, and it probably would have just been just as fun. I think I steer more towards the rowdier type thing because that's more fun to me, I guess.
And you can still make those bikes go plenty fast. And I don't know, let's be honest, we're not racing in the pro gravel peloton. So do we need that?
Nope.
I don't know. I know this is kind of like a very centric question to myself and mostly Lance, but Evan, is that something that you agree with, just coming from a bike fit perspective and a safety perspective? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, though, when you're looking at, like, from a bike fitting perspective, I think the bike industry is doing some pretty cool things because as it makes a more specific frame and, changes your, obviously, the height, the clearance, and then obviously the seat tube angle, too. You can make a pretty cushy or aggressive ride for anybody. And obviously, as the fork increases, you can ride it on basically anything. But the bottom line is the prices that we're looking at means this can't be hot because who else is going to come into the bike market at those price ranges with that specific of a bike?
Mm-hmm.
Like your dude that's like, I mean, I coach plenty of people like this. It's like, hey, I need like a little bit of help with getting into the bike market here. What should I look at? I'm not going to tell him like, oh yeah, man, grab yourself a race gravel bike for like $8,000. Right. He's like, I'm looking for more than 1,200 range.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not hot. It can't be hot. It's cool for anybody who's already in that world, but like nobody's going to the nobody's coming up to me and is like, hey, I need you to fit me on this elite gravel bike right off the bat.
Yeah. That's like their second or third bike. Yeah.
And they're probably more like 12K.
Lance is not right.
Lance is definitely right there. Yeah, sorry, Lance. I was going with the team discount there.
Right.
Yeah, bikes. I mean, that was kind of one of my rants. What was it, a week or two ago, when we had the hot seat talking about the bike industry hopefully going through a bit of a correction cycle. And just to kind of touch on that a little bit more, I went and pulled some numbers on a particular bike from a particular brand and shared it with somebody. And he's probably listening to this because I know he does listen from time to time, and he's probably knowing exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to out all of this stuff, but I went through and looked at a particular bike that in 2019, it was their top, 2018, it was their top shell bike. And it was a full red ETAP build. I mean, this predates the 12-speed stuff, so this is going to be the 11-speed stuff, but we're still talking about model year 2018, which wasn't too long ago. That bike with the full red top shelf wheels, the nice stuff from top to bottom, was $8,999. And then you look at that same bike year over year, and you fast forward to now, that same bike is retailing for $14,999. So from 2018 to 2024, that's a 66.67% increase. And then if you look at that same bike, once you kind of had COVID, and we all know what happened during COVID with the bike industry, that bike jumped up 36.37%. And if you mirror that or lay that over inflation, so your inflation from 2018 to 23 jumped up 22.5%. So it was about a quarter. The inflation was about a quarter of how much the cost of that bike actually increased. And then if you look at inflation from 2020 to 2023, 18.3%, as opposed to the 36.37% that bike jumped up. So the bike industry is definitely needing a bit of a correction. And we were all kind of talking about what we thought that should be. We all thought around 20%. Well, if you look at the math and you want to just keep bike prices in line with what inflation has been, 20% spot on, which is utterly ridiculous.
Those are crazy numbers, Jay. Good job looking at those too, because I just explained this to a patient too. For the same industry and groups of governing bodies that claim to want to be as inclusive and like, oh, let's try to bring as many people into cycling as we can, they sure don't seem to behave any of that.
No.
Every action says against that. Every single action says that's not what they actually care about at all.
And we're seeing corrections happening, and that's good. And we're starting to see prices come down. We're starting to see people realizing like, oh yeah, I think we kind of went a little too far with that. But I'm still seeing certain brands that aren't doing that. And I'm like, you guys are making a bad decision. You're going to get stuck behind. And people are going to have a little bit of resentment towards that, because if you just look at the numbers, don't tell me that there wasn't some price gouging going on here, but I don't want to get up on this whole ordeal again.
Maybe it has something to do with like trying to recover from the COVID over purchased it now we're on that like dip side of that. So I'm wondering if there's something like,
well, they made a gob of money. They
cyclical.
sold everything that they could get their hands on. And it's not like they didn't make enough bikes. They could have sold even more.
Yeah.
And then there was everything kind of piling up when everything kind of slowed down and people stopped spending as much money because, free money wasn't coming down the pipelines and the economy was starting to tank a little bit and they were sitting on inventory. So if you're sitting on inventory, supply and demand would say that your demand has gone down, your supply has gone up. So it's going to drive your prices down. The indicators point to you should be doing that, not like saying, oh, you know what, from 2023 to 2024, we're going to increase our prices again 7.14%, which is what they did.
I'm just wondering, it's like, okay, when you're making money hand over fist during the pandemic, everyone's going to get raises. Everyone gets a raise. Everybody's a winner here, right?
Well, are they getting raises or are they getting bonuses?
I don't know. But
I mean, everybody got a cost of living adjustment and probably saw some sort of a raise. So yes, that happened. And that's indicative when you look at the inflation numbers. But when you're outpacing inflation by 2 to 3x.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Those are big numbers.
Yeah.
It's the forecasting that got them in trouble. So they had, a year and a half of, record sales. And so they forecasted for more record sales, made more inventory, and then demand went down. So they just mismanaged the forecast. And I don't know that you could have really predicted that very well, that demand would drop off as much as it could have. It's easy for us to look at it now and say, well, yeah, everybody bought what they wanted. And so, of course, demand went down. But the forecasters just messed up.
When you've got a bike, a Force built or an Ultegra built bike that used to cost $4,000, that's now going for $10,000, you ramp that up way too quickly. This escalated really quickly. And you've got to look at that. And like when things start to kind of slow down, you've got to be paying attention to all the economic indicators too, and make those decisions based on that. Don't keep your prices skyrocketed high. Don't go nuts on the inventory.
Bottom line, it was an awful business decision.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people with a lot to lose made a lot of stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to pay the price.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so to go back to your thing, the gravel bikes having multiple categories, that's just showing that, I don't know, maybe it's just another reason to be able to sell people another bike. So you've got an industry that's hot. So not offer just one category of bike, but two categories of bike. And now you got a lot of people like, well, which one do I want? Maybe I need both, or I need to upgrade. Which direction do I want to go? I've already got an adventure bike. Maybe I'll get a race bike and I can have two in my quiver. So it's giving them something to sell, which is fine. I'm all for capitalism and having a little bit of product diversity is nice, but come off on the prices a little bit and make things reasonable. Make it be something where people can maybe mix and match the bikes too. Because you've got the likes of a Santa Cruz Stigmata, which is another bike that we carry at the lab. That's actually a pretty cool race bike. The geometry on it's a little bit more relaxed than say like the BMC Cayuse, but you can outfit that bike so many different ways to make it be a super strong, very, very stout race bike, but you can also make it be a super fun, adventure bike too. And, proof's in the pudding. If you want to talk about how well that bike's going to do at races, and yes, I mean, anybody, or if this guy was racing on any bike, he'd probably put it on over the finish line first. But, Keegan Swinson, that's the bike that he rides, and he does perfectly fine with it. It's not as quote unquote racy as a BMC Cayuse, but he makes it go super fast and he has a lot of fun on it. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's doing just fine on that bike.
So
that's for sure.
I think if it were me making that decision, I would find a bike that the geometry is going to kind of split the difference, knowing that I can probably outfit it with the things that I need. So like, Lance and I are actually in the process of building a couple of the NV Mogs right now, which is their gravel race bike or their gravel bike in general. And you can do different things with that bike too. It's got a lot of diversity in it. So, we're going to put dropper posts on it, but if I wanted to lighten that load up a little bit, and because I'm going to use one of the wireless access remote dropper posts on, I can take that out easily and throw a carbon seat post in there, lighten the load up if I need to, or if I need to put on a different set of wheels, I can do that as well because
that's
it's got
the point.
Whip,
actually, being able to be like, for each race, make some modifications to your bike. That's
keep it kind of modular, I guess you
right,
could say. So,
right. I mean, we all do that with our bikes, right? Like, I mean, big Ironman race or something like that, you're going to get the cassette that's specific to the race.
Yeah. If I were a bike company, that's what I would probably do. Is I'd probably lean into the bike that's going to be modular. That can be, it can go different directions. It can be kind of a chameleon in terms of what it is that you need it to be. That's just my 2 cents. Anything else on that one?
Here's my final thought kind of on it. I feel like I'm the demographic that a bike company is looking at. I'm a middle-aged American male who races with disposable income. I'm the kind of guy who would have a race bike and an adventure. I'm not going to do that. I don't have interest in having 2 gravel bikes. I'm going to have 1 gravel bike that's going to do both things well.
Yeah.
So for me, it doesn't make sense for me to have a race. You just make your choice. Which one do you want? Not both.
Gotcha.
So
are you going to, you're pretty much of the same mindset that when it comes to the road bikes too, though, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm not going to have a climbing bike and a training bike. Although maybe my old race bike becomes my training bike.
or a rain bike.
But let's
right?
be honest, you don't want to ride on
Or
your old bike
rain
because it's not
bike.
as fast and you're not going to get the KOMs even
You're
though
right.
you're not going out for
Lance.
cams.
That's right. That's right.
Lance, I do have a confession to make that my current BMC Time Machine race bike is about to become my trainer bike because I'm
Okay.
buying another TT bike to race.
But you're a professional. I'm an amateur.
but
so
I
it's
might,
very
but I'm
different.
I might become close to the second most hated person on this podcast right after you. So
Are you gonna get the Scott Plasma thing?
P5 Cervelo, and then I'm
Ooh,
getting
yeah,
the
that's good.
components. Getting the components from Jake here, and then I'm getting the drag to zero front end.
Sweet.
That P5 is like I think it's a very much a favorite for anyone that doesn't have like a bike sponsor that has to own a certain thing. Everyone's like, if you don't have to own a certain thing, then get the Cervelo. It's been good.
Very adaptable. That's why that bike is good. It's very, very adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
TT bikes, man, that's a whole nother story that we can talk about. But just
Yeah.
a little quick thing here, real quick, is like we have access to the Scott Plasma, to
Right.
the BMC Time Machine. We've got access to the Cervelo. I was not able to get my hands on any of those bikes. They're completely all just like they just, well, it's not that there was like massive demand. They just didn't make very many of them. And the other thing is, oh my God, are they expensive now? They're just like any of their bikes. It seems like just entry level, you're over 10K for a TT bike. So
It used
Talk
to
about
be
an absolutely overpriced
Right.
market.
Yeah.
TT and triathlon bikes got out of hand.
it used to be entry level TT bike was like somewhere around $2,000.
yeah.
$2,000.
and BMC had those, but no more.
Now you're paying the tax that you pay on the bike is $2,000.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all right. Here's my next thing for 2024. They're saying I don't know who they is, but
Yeah,
they're
they.
saying that this year, 2024, will be the year of the one by drivetrain adoption on the road. Do you guys agree with that? Road bikes going 1X, one by drivetrain.
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't.
Strong opinion on this. No,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so.
I like one by systems. I think that they make sense. I think that the time we'll see it is when you move up another ratchet and you're getting like 13, 14 speed, cassettes or whatever. Like the whole system is like, okay, well, we don't really.
I feel like we need another jump. We need to go from 12
almost-
to 13 to have those smooth gear transitions and to
Yeah.
have the full range that you need. But they're getting pretty stinking close.
Or we're going to have some sort of hub-based shifting system, which would
that
be
too.
very, very cool.
That would be
Because
very interesting.
There's technology out there. I can't remember the name of the hub, but it's a built-in system, and you basically press a button and it doubles your gearing.
We talked about this a couple years ago, if you remember, Matt, too. The problem is I'm not sure if that's ever going to be able to hit the market because the complexity of working with it as a mechanic, I would guess.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of question marks, right? Like if it's sealed up
Yeah.
well, does it hold, does it need to be, does there
It would
maintenance
not
that need to be
travel
do well? It would not travel
That for
well.
sure would not travel. Oh my God, no. I'm sure getting that in and out of a bike box would be a nightmare.
Getting wheels specifically built with that, there's a lot of, I think it requires a lot of specific things for it to work and function. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I could see some company like SRAM or Shimano being like, yeah, we're buying that. We own this piece of technology now. And then all of a sudden it's like, you wait another year after they've purchased it. And then all of a sudden it's like, yep, this is it. And we're all doing one buy. So is it 2024? No.
I don't think it's going to be 2024, but I've been riding on a one by drivetrain on my gravel bike for 4 years now. It's pretty close. It does have a couple little like holes in the whole gear shifting. I mean, there's a couple spots where you're like, all right, I feel like I'm mashing too hard, and you go up, you feel like I'm spinning a little too hard. So there's a couple of those little
Jumps too
chinks
much.
in the arm.
What about on either side? Do you feel like you spin out when you get up and moving
Well,
on the road?
that's the thing is I had to play with chain rings for some time before I found the sweet spot, and should have listened to a teammate a long time before I went through the whole process of trying everything. But it's kind of nice to try things out and know exactly how it works for you. But as soon as I went to a 46 tooth with a 1050 cassette in the rear, 12 speed cassette, that was pretty much a home run for me. Like I said, there's a couple spots in there where if I'm on a flat and we're pedaling hard, or if we're just a slight decline, or mostly on the flat, there's like one of the cogs in there. There's like you're going back and forth. It just feels like you're either spinning or mashing just a touch too hard. It would be nice if it was a little bit smoothed out there. But for the most part, it's pretty stinking good.
Can you get home up the hill?
Oh yeah. That's no problem. I mean,
climbing is not a problem.
We've done some climbs that are 3 miles long that are a pretty pitchy thing, and you're getting up those, and you're like, yeah, I'm cranking a little bit harder. Lance has got the perfect setup. His is a 1052, mine's a 1050. So if he needs to be in that gear, he's going to have just a touch easier of a time, and I think that would be butter. I just didn't upgrade to that particular cassette when it became available, but it works pretty well. I spin out at about 36, 37 miles an hour. So is that going to work on the road? Probably not, because that's not quite fast enough. But for a gravel bike, it's fantastic.
Pretty reasonable.
But I don't know. We'll see. I don't personally think that we're going to see it in 2024, but I think that the writing's on the wall, and I think it's just a matter of time. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think we're probably 2, maybe 3 years out, but we'll see. We'll see. What do you think, Lance?
I certainly don't. I don't miss having 2x on my gravel bikes. And I've been racing and training with 1x on my mountain bike and my gravel bike for like 4 years, same as Jake. And if that switched over to my road bike and it was just because I don't have a front derailleur, I would adjust just fine. I think I would be just fine. There's enough gears there that you make it work. So do I like the smoother transition from gear to gear? Yeah, that's nice on the road, but I would adjust quickly if it went to 1x on the road. That's my thought.
Gotcha. All right, let's jump on to the next one real quick. I am going to lump two things together because it's kind of talked about in two different categories, and that's just going with narrower bars on the road and on gravel. What are your guys' thoughts on the super narrow bars?
It's definitely trending for sure in the pro peloton, but I'm not sure that
if the UCI has anything to say about it.
Well, I know, but okay, so
well, they don't want you pitching your hoods in, but I think if you go with a narrower bar,
you can, but just give them time. Don't worry, they will shut that down too, guaranteed.
Spoil the party, throw a turd in the punch bowl like usual. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you like that? Do you feel comfortable on that? Is it something that you guys want to see continue to trend forward? Is it something that you'll be changing on your bike?
I'm not changing that on my bike. I'm not going to go more narrow. If anything, I would want to go wide and just have the comfort and the flexibility of having like a little bit more control. But I'm not trying to go that fast.
What about eventually having a bar that you could adjust like a dropper post, but you could like
there you go.
Widen or narrow
Jake,
it?
There's a guy in the professional tri world. He's actually, I think Denny Chevreau is his name.
Okay.
He has rigged up his own base bar that folds up into his aero bars.
Really?
So it becomes his aero bars. Have you seen this, Matt? Do you remember this from last year?
Yeah, I have a sad story about this.
Is that the guy that hit the bus or something?
Yeah. There was a.
Oh yeah.
Is this the same guy that you guys are talking about? Is he the one that passed away?
There's a guy that died.
No, different guy.
Okay, so there was a set of bars that were like
this
wide.
guy's alive and well.
There's a set of bars that were wide, and then they fold straight into aero bars. So then there's nothing on the sides. The guy that invented that hit a bus in the teaching position and died.
The guy who invented it died. Yes.
But it didn't mean that the bars were at fault or that they weren't like going to come to market. I do think that it's not an easy marketing story to tell, but
was he sponsoring Egon Bernal?
Yes,
okay.
It was.
Right.
That was a
Makes
tragic sponsorship.
Sorry, that was poor.
But yeah, at least Egon Bernal is coming around and he's gonna win the tour. So no, I think that setup is it's odd and it's dangerous. That's what I think.
Gotcha.
I agree, Matt. I agree. I think even in the tri world right now, we're hitting the point of what is becoming too dangerous. We have guys putting arrow bottles next to their eyes. The chase for aerodynamics is huge right now. And I think that it's getting to a point where we got to start setting up some barriers.
Well, interesting. I don't think I'll be doing anything different with my bars because my shoulders don't really care for narrower. I did ride that BMC Cayuse, though, the one that we alluded to earlier, that has the 37 mil wide, if I'm not mistaken, it's 37 or 38 mil wide bars. And at first I'm like, there's no way that that's going to be comfortable. Got on the bike, rode it for about a quarter of a mile around the block at the lab, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was kind of comfortable. I didn't, obviously go on a long ride, so I don't know what the lasting effects were, but it was a lot better than I thought it was. Do I want to go that direction? Probably not yet, at least. But I would definitely like to take a bike out for a demo just to see how it handles. How about you, Lance?
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever bars come on the bike, I'm just going to ride it and race it.
There you go. Right on. All right, moving on. The next one. Matt might get excited about this one. They are saying in 2024, who they are, I don't know. I got to go back and read, but they're saying that we're going to see our first aero sensor on bikes this year. Matt's got thoughts on this.
Evan, we have thoughts on this because it's technology that's awesome. It's just really finicky to use. And
we just got to wait for the second or third generation. I think this will be awesome.
But
I'm not sure if
the problem is
I'm not sure if it's awesome yet.
The problem is that we're waiting and we're waiting and waiting for like this technology to be flushed out, and we've been waiting for like 10 years. These sensors have been available to the public for sale. The problem is the usability is it's a nightmare. I probably said this on the podcast before. Like, if you're testing something, we can try this. And this is one thing that I really want to try with like Evan and Josh is like go out to Vancouver Lake where you have these like perfect roads where there's not a lot of traffic and things like that. But, the second some car passes you, it messes up your whole run, your whole test run. And then you're really trying to grasp at straws to see if a helmet is helpful or not. And this, compared to a wind tunnel test where they would pick it up immediately. Yeah, you've got an aero helmet on. That's 5 watts. It's like the difference is. Go ahead.
And you also have to be very, very good at holding the position.
Yes.
So I was talking with somebody about this who, I won't say they probably know who they are as they're listening to this, is not pushing a lot of watts, is not going very fast, not valuable, 1,000% not valuable. You need to get good at holding your aero position, pushing decent watts, and then maybe consider stuff like this. But that makes for a terrible market. Like, that's a pretty narrow market for these companies.
Tiny market. What would be valuable, of course, is if the technology got so good that you put it somehow, it's attached to your bike computer or it's part of your bike computer, and then all of a sudden you're looking down and you can see your CDA the whole time, and you tuck in behind like a Peloton type group and you see your numbers drop, and then you step out into the wind and you see your numbers go up, and you can train based on that and you can race based on that information. Then all of a sudden there's huge value there. The problem is
that's the big technology.
Yeah,
if that could happen, that would be amazing.
Yeah, if you're constantly getting CDA information, like constant feedback, which again, these aero sensors can do. There's like there's information within the protocol for transmitting information to your cycling computer where you can have this constant CDA number. It's all kind of baked into the Ant Plus protocol. The problem is, the technology doesn't really work that well. Like, you just can't get really good, valid data unless you try to like really hunker down and you do these precise tests, which aren't that much fun to do. Like, literally, I think that if Evan and Josh and I went out there, I think it would take us an entire day, like 4 to 6 hours of just like trying to get things right so that we could kind of tease out, oh, this helmet may be better than this helmet. Maybe we might be able to do that. And that's just a long shot.
Yeah. Josh has done it 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
Takes him around 3-4 hours. I did it once with Josh Sutton. Took me 3 to 4 hours. That's how long it takes.
What tool were you using? Were you using someone else's?
Yeah. It was the one that Output Speed Labs had before they moved to Bend.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So
same tool that you have.
okay, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely stuff I want to play with. It's definitely stuff that I'm excited about. I just think that like the problem is there's like it's not just like, oh, we have to account for these 3 variables and then we've got it. It's like, no, we have to account for 1,000 variables. And if we can't do that, then it's just I don't see the technology being close, so I don't predict it being 2024. And I would love to be wrong.
Yeah, there's people that have stuff. I will. It just seems like you said, it's too finicky and it's going to be really expensive too. So it's going to be prohibitive for a lot of people. And then for the people that do have it, it's going to be like, all right, do I really want to fuss around with this thing and I'm going to get valuable data? I don't know.
It's interesting because Garmin bought a company that sold these aero sensors and then just buried it because they basically were like, we can't sell this. It was, I mean, you'd think that after all the due diligence that they would do, they would know if they could bring it to market within like a year or 2 or whatever it is. Maybe they're still working on it. I have no idea. I don't have any insight into Garmin, but that's the kind of company that I would expect. Like, it's going to take a lot of research dollars to get it where it needs to be before it's consumer.
Somebody lost their job over that for sure.
Right?
I was agreeing with you, Matt, there because I remember when Garmin bought that and then just nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was like they had this big run up. Like it was like they had a name for the sensor, like they had a name for the product. It was all looked like it was going to be a go, and then they were just like, yeah, this doesn't work well enough. So,
yeah, it was kind of like when they were coming out with their the rally pedals, which used to be the what were they called? The Garmin Vector, that's it.
Yeah.
Like the first
Probably
iteration of that, like
name.
they talked about that coming out for the longest time. Like it's just around the corner, and then another year goes by, and another year goes by, and they finally came to market. When they came to market, they had all sorts of quirky issues with them.
So many problems.
And then they worked through that, went to the second generation, and like, all right, this is going to be the end all be all. And they still had issues, and there was still a lot of like scuttlebutt that went into the whole process of having to get them calibrated. And finally, when they came around the third generation, they seemed to have most of that stuff ironed out. There were some other small issues with that they worked through, but
it was probably smart that they changed the name
because
it's like
then they went to Rally, and I think that was a branding thing on purpose, just because they finally got it nailed down. And like, let's put this whole Vector thing behind us, and let's start off with the Rally. And for all intents and purposes, they've been great.
They've been great.
And now we're talking about something that's far less finicky, that took them 4 iterations over the course of 10 years to get ironed out. And it also took 2 or 3 years prior to that of them trying to figure this out. With something like this aero sensor, gosh, if
someone were to say like, are we going to have this in 10 years? I'd be like, yeah, probably. Like that seems like the right, future time frame. But 2024, that's optimistic. I hope so. I don't know. We'll see.
That's why they have the year, right?
I'm happy I will be all about reviewing those. I'm just going to need to borrow Evan and Josh for some help reviewing them.
Cool. All right, I've got another category for you guys. It's actually going to be 2 categories I'm going to lump into one because they're kind of one and the same. Again, new group sets coming out in 2024. We are being told, based on this article, not by any information that we know, that there's going to be a new SRAM Red group set.
Yeah.
Not until later this year, they're saying. And
I think
there's going to be a
highly
new
likely.
Shimano GRX electronic shifting gravel group set.
I believe both of those rumors.
Okay, so those will probably both happen. I think that those are going to be highly plausible. They're both due. What is it that you guys would like to see from both of these to make it worth your while to say, I need that in my life?
GRX electronic, 12 speed, like that would just be, it'd be great.
Yeah.
I think that people like that component set. I think it's a winner.
It's good. I think
Shimano.
For GRX, the only thing that I would like to see is more gearing options.
Yep.
Because I think that it was a little sparse coming out the gates, and there's certain situations where it could use a little bit more range, but that's just my 2 cents. But
will SRAM go 13 speed? Like they supposedly from what I remember, like the rumors were that they wouldn't have to adjust their chain to go to 13. It looked like a more straightforward update. Was what I remember hearing.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. The article that I read didn't allude to 13 speed. It wouldn't completely and totally surprise me because I believe we're 4 years since they came out with the latest iteration of the SRAM Red. Would it be cool to see 13 speed? Yeah. Would that bode well for going 1X? Probably.
Yeah.
But what are some other little things that you would like to see from a SRAM Red group set that you would eventually know would trickle down to the lower group sets? Lance, Evan, you guys got any opinions on that?
I'm not sure. I really like the 12 SRAM red group set. It works pretty well. I maybe battery life that lasted longer. Maybe I don't even know. I mean, I've had really good luck with the SRAM red. I like it. Shimano. I wish they had a battery that was easily swappable or replaceable.
Yep.
You know, I think that's a weak point in their system. But I'm kind of a SRAM guy anyway. I've made my choice, and now I'm sticking with SRAM. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I think the
I
killer
agree.
feature.
SRAM's great.
Yep.
SRAM's absolutely great. I agree. Like red's great. The only thing I would say I would love on their top red model to do something TT specific would be great, like housing the pulleys. If they house the pulleys, that'd be awesome.
Sweet. What did you say, Matt?
I was going to say killer feature would be what they've done with the Eagle stuff with the like
UDH, universal derailleur hanger?
Yes.
Yep, I was going to talk about that too. Yeah.
It's a killer feature.
Oh, yeah.
From a durability standpoint, which I think is just overlooked by these component companies. Durability is huge, both on the road as well as mountain bike. I mean, we have this on mountain bike, and it would be great to see it move its way over to road. But the problem is it's a lot harder to get everyone to comply with like that specific through axle piece, right? Isn't that the problem with the?
It's pretty mainstay
everybody
now.
did it.
Yeah, it's pretty mainstay in the mountain bike community,
Yes.
and then gravel
Which made it
community.
easy.
It's like pretty much all across the boards there as well. And it's like the road. I think that it's something that you'll probably start to see.
If
And
they
think
can
about
get,
it.
if they can get there,
Yeah,
then
it gives road bike companies a reason to make a new frame to sell people. Like, you got to have the latest and greatest. You got to have UDH. You got to be running the transmission based
UDH.
stuff.
What does UDH stand for?
Universal derailleur hanger.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's rock solid.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I also know that there's going to be some other options coming out that are going to be making it a much easier decision to make for your gravel bikes later this year. So right now you're kind of having to mix and match. Like these bikes that Lance and I are going to be building, these MV Mogs, are going to have the universal derailleur hanger. They do have the universal derailleur UDH hanger on them. They're going to have the transmission on them, and then it's going to be a 1X drivetrain. And then what we have to do is run the Force 1x single, crankset.
Okay.
44 tooth was it, or 46 tooth? I can't remember what it was that they're making that at. But as long as
we're trying to get a 46. Yeah,
and,
we're trying to get a 46.
And that's going to be the setup. It's going to be a transmission
Are
setup.
you guys just making 2 of these bikes for yourself?
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, why not?
It'll be fun.
So had an opportunity, jumped on it.
Yeah.
So a couple things that I would love to see in SRAM is the thing that I really, really liked a lot about the Durace and the Ultegra stuff that I had is they have the extra buttons on them for different integrations for like a sprint shifter you can make it be.
Yeah.
Or the thing that I really loved is the ability to be able to control my computer, my bike computer. You could scroll through the different screens without taking your hands off the bars. If they could integrate that in there, I think that would be a killer feature.
That's a good idea.
So
I could definitely, I do believe that SRAM will start to move that direction.
Yeah. Say again, Lance?
If they made wireless blips, if they made wireless blips that didn't need a junction box that you had to hide somewhere, that would be like way better. That seems like electronically it would be simple.
Do
They have that, Lance. I have that right now on my aero bars.
I don't think
Those are those do not need a blip box.
They don't have a junction box.
do they pair with the rear derailleur?
Yep,
Okay.
directly.
Yeah,
on
that's
a
what I
1x.
thought. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You can put those on your bike if you want, Lance.
Okay.
Well, anyway, those are.
I can show you them, Lance.
Yep, those are slated to be coming out this year, so I'm kind of excited to see that. We'll see if and when they come out, but I'm pretty sure that that's all going to be something we'll see this year. All right, moving on. The next thing is going to be, I think we're going to start to see another jump, and this is kind of starting to confirm that, but another jump in like what the standard tire width for roadies are going to be. A lot of people went from 25 to 28s and have been running 28s for some time now.
Yeah.
A lot more people are starting to run 30s, and some people are actually even running like a mixed setup, like a 25 up front and a 28 in the back, or a 28 up front and a 30 in the back, based on the kinds of riding terrains. Are you guys going to go wider? And would you consider doing that? I don't want to call it a mullet setup, but the mixed tire width.
I think the mullet setup is, it's actually I think it's a smart setup, because if you think of it from like an aerodynamic standpoint, you do want a more narrow wheel up front. And then like by the time the wind gets to the back wheel, it's not a big deal to have something wider. And then you got extra comfort
Yep.
So, I mean, from that standpoint, sure, mix it up. For me, who's not as worried about the speed side of things, like I think I'm running dual 28s right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice setup.
Comfy.
Yeah.
It's comfy. And so would I go wider? Would I go 30s? If I could, I would love to have the option to do it. And then if you're like, okay, I'm not going to race like this, but I'm going to ride. I'm going to do all my training rides like this or whatever it is. So I don't know.
Gotcha. What about you guys?
If it's just as fast and it's more comfortable, then heck yeah, I would go up to 30s. No problem.
I don't. Here's the thing. Like everyone is like, yeah, wider's faster, and all of us know that that's bullshit, right? Because like none of us are riding fat tire bikes because they're slow as crap, right? Like
30s
Right.
got to be the ceiling. 32's got
no,
to be the ceiling.
there's no specific. There's no specific ceiling. It depends on the course.
I need to see data. I need to see rolling resistance and aero data before I would ever convert beyond
Right.
28.
Yeah, there's a weight penalty there too. I mean, you're carrying that much more rubber. I mean, it's not like tremendous, but it's still going to have some sort of an impact. And plus, you've got to like turn that extra weight over. I mean, once you get up to speed, that's fine, but there has to be some sort of a penalty at some point in time. There's a line that you cross over where the gains aren't outweighing the.
I think it really depends on surface area
This is
that
true.
you're biking on, right? So it's like if you're on really rough roads, then having something like a 28 or a 30 is faster than riding 23s or whatever. But if you're on a track, like what do those guys ride? They ride probably tiny wheels at super high pressures.
Yeah.
So they do that because it's the fastest possible setup.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't think that aerodynamics are as big as rolling resistance for most of the time, but
What
there's
about
also
just
that
all
small
your
piece there.
tooling around and riding around? I mean, is that something
Yeah.
where you would
I'd go big.
entertain the thought of running
yeah.
some 30s on there? Huh?
Sure.
Good. Cool.
Go big.
Evan, what are you
Be
running on your
comfy.
TT bike?
28s.
Are you
28s?
really?
On both.
I'm kind of surprised that you're rolling with
Yeah.
28s. I would think that like 28 in the back and like 25 in the front would be a faster setup.
I think Lance is
I
running
would do that.
the
Yeah.
21 up
I would
front
do
and the
that,
23
yeah.
in the back. I think that's what Lance is doing these days.
Yeah, Lance
120
goes,
PSI.
he goes narrow.
Yeah.
On my time trial bike.
Pizza cutters.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that should be interesting to see. I have tried some 30s and they're quite comfortable. And
Yeah.
I've run a mullet setup on my gravel bike before too, and I actually kind of like that. And that was just because I didn't have another option, but it
Yep.
was a situation where I didn't have the thin one up front. It was like I had the thicker one up front, which
Whoops.
was nice because I could dig into things a little bit better, and it
Better
was
grip for
and then
turns.
I just it was a 45 up front and a 40 in the rear, so it wasn't a bad setup. I actually quite liked it. All right, the next one, and we're kind of not getting in the weeds here, but you're going to see a lot more 3D saddles, and you're going to see more options, and it's going to be a little bit more commonplace, and I think the prices are going to come down. Are you guys excited about 3D printed saddles?
No, I don't care.
Don't care. Okay, Evan.
I'm actually excited about that. I think it's awesome.
Yep. All right,
Yeah.
Hepler.
My undercarriage is made of leather. I could ride on a beach ball and be just fine.
I'm actually kind of excited about that because they are pretty comfortable. I've tried a couple of them and they weren't, and it was just what we had available. And I'm like, I'm just going to put this on there, see how it felt. And it wasn't the right width, and it just didn't hit me in all the right spots. So I wasn't super pleased with it, but I know that if I find the right width, basically mirroring the particular saddle that I'm running right now and do the 3D printed, I think it could be pretty plush and comfortable.
So they 3D print these saddles?
Yeah.
And do they just take a picture of your anus? And
Yeah.
then it's like do you just walk into a bike store and just drop your pants and then you're like, and we got you.
You could, but they might kick you out. But
Okay, I'm just gonna try
Actually,
it. We're all going to the
they
dial
actually have
cycling lab.
They actually have this soft mold. You got to take everything off, sit on it, and then nobody cleans it after.
I can't wait to sit on one of those after Lance has been there.
oh my God.
Saddle talk.
This has been Tate Talk. All right.
TikTok.
No, I think it's a pretty good thing. I'm not seeing any companies that are making these custom. I'm sure that's probably something that's out there. A lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
are just
Sure.
taking the molds that they've used and that are super popular and that have worked really well and just offering up a 3D printed version of them, and people seem to be eating them up. The only thing that I don't like about them is when you are riding them on a off-road, like gravel bike, and if it's like a super wet and muddy kind of thing, they will get kind of clogged up with all that stuff. So you got to spray that out really well. And if you don't, then it could like nest itself in there and eventually start to eat through your bib shorts and just kind of becomes an ugly mess. But otherwise, it's a great option. But they are stupid expensive.
Are they?
Yeah. The Physique ones with the carbon rails on them are about $400 for a saddle.
Yeah.
Which is
I paid a
pricey.
lot. I think I paid something along those lines for a like custom saddle for my TT bike that I still use. And it's just like this guy basically just hand makes all these saddles and they're awesome.
Sweet.
I love them.
Cool.
It's good.
All right, the last one, and this isn't something that's really going to affect any of us. I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are. The e-bike market is just on fire. It's just everybody and his brother seems to have e-bikes. How are you guys with the notion of having a bunch of kids on e-bikes now, and the fact that there's going to be a bunch of kid e-bikes available hitting the market?
Boo! Boo!
I think
that was the.
I think it could be.
Wait, guys. No. Okay. Seriously though. Boo!
Oh my gosh, I agree with Evan, and in some respects, though, I do think it's kind of a cool thing. But damn it, kids, just go ride your regular bike. Now, if you're a kid that lives on the top of a freaking mountain and you ride your bike to work, or not to work, but to school, that might be a kind of little option to have. But I don't know; these things are going to be expensive.
Hey, how are we ever going to win the Tour de France if kids on tops of mountains aren't riding their bikes actually up at themselves?
That was what I was going to say.
Sepp Kuss is crying at this right now.
Can you guys make a case for it though?
Oh yeah, I can make a case right here. Ready?
Would you buy them for your kid? Okay, make your case first and then answer that question.
The case is more people on bikes means it's safer on the roads for people. When everyone knows that there's like, oh man, there's an epidemic of like 13-year-old kids on bikes, like you have to be careful when you're driving, then that serves all of us extremely well that are going to be out there biking. Would I buy this for my kid? I would be very hesitant because 13-year-old kids like to go super fast and think that they're indestructible, and they don't like to wear helmets.
Imagine that you can put some governors on that. You could tone them down.
And I do think my kids are. Every parent thinks their kid's the one kid that's reasonable, and I'm like, no, my kids are pretty careful. But at the same time, it's like they get a taste of that, like, oh, I can go fast, I'm not going to get hurt, and then it's just it's a recipe for having a really hurt child.
And
so
your kids are so active though. Everybody in this call, your guys' kids are so active. I am, as a medical provider, way more concerned for incredibly inactive kids becoming more incredibly inactive.
Okay, but here's I
just don't think you're going to take a kid that's like playing video games all the time and put him on an e-bike. He's not going to get fatter because he's on an e-bike. It's not like he's going from riding he was like, oh, he was doing 100 miles a week on his bike and now he's on an e-bike and look how fat he got. That's not the case, Evan. It's going to be the opposite of that. It's going to get people out.
It's a gateway drug. It's potentially a gateway drug to get them out there doing their thing. So.
Maybe. But your guys' generation seemed to do just fine with pedal-powered bikes. Why does that need to change?
Our generation, we're
going the wrong direction.
We're before bikes, Evan. Back then, I think we all just had the steam engine. That's all we had.
You're old, but I used to pedal my Schwinn Stingray up the side of mountains pretty good. So that long banana seat served me well. But,
yeah.
Gosh, this is a tough one. You can go both ways. In some parts of me agree with Evan, and some parts of me agree with Matt, and some parts of me are like, just have them go ride a stinking bike and fall in love with that and get some fitness. But there's a place for some of that, and there might be some kids that are, like Matt said, they're stuck at home on computers all day, and they just don't have any desire because they're going to get out of wind just pedaling to the bottom of their driveway, let alone having to go on any kind of a bike ride. But I don't know, if it can get some more kids out there and it can raise awareness, like you were saying, then I think it's a good thing. Just got to make sure that they make that next.
Just got to be careful.
Yeah. Lance, do you have thoughts on that? Do you have feelings?
If it gets more people on bikes, I think it's just fine. I think the reality of the situation would be that most kids would not be on e-bikes because they are so much more expensive than a kid's bike.
Yep.
So it would be very few and far between that there would be kids on e-bikes, unless the batteries get better, the motors get better, the
prices
costs
drop.
come down dramatically.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that could happen. And we might see it on like electric scooters or electric, I think that there's the potential for the price to drop on these things. We'll see. Not like the good, not like super nice electric bikes, but a lot of the cheap, can I just say like Chinese made e-bikes that are just going to be flooding the market. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of kids in the neighborhoods on them. So
here's another point to that is like, do they need an e-bike? I mean, if you put them on a mountain bike that's say got like a 28 or a 32, front chain ring, and you mesh that up with like a cassette that's got a 1050 or 1052, and you can get those pretty cheap, and the bike doesn't have to be super expensive. That thing can pedal up a pretty steep hill without a ton of effort. Granted, you're not going to be going near as fast, but the kid's still going to be going up at under power, and it's not going to be something like, oh my God, I can't make it. They're just going to be going really slow.
I think where you live in particular, an e-bike makes a lot of sense for a kid.
Yeah, but in that same breath, my son was riding his mountain bike all over the place when he was, 11, 12 years old. Yeah. And the first couple times I took him up and showed him like the path of least resistance to get to where we lived. Yeah, we had to stop once or twice, but he eventually got it, and he was stronger for it.
It's not that the kids can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't want to.
Yeah.
They want the easy, like, I'm just going to press this
That's
button.
the issue.
Yeah.
That is the issue. Because here's going to be the problem is it's always a gateway with this where we say, well, what about the kids who are, disabled to some extent? Awesome. Great. That is not everybody.
No,
that's not the kids that are going to be buying this.
And this is where I 100% agree with Evan,
it's
too.
It's just moving in the wrong direction. It's this continued landslide into the wrong direction.
I don't want to paint generations with a broad stroke and say, like, you are this, because that's not all kids. But I do feel that these, these Generation Alpha and the Gen Zs and even some of you millennials, you need to experience a little bit more friction in life. And you got to understand that things are exactly. Don't make everything be super easy, and don't like get all, your panties in a wad just because something's a little bit harder. Know that like after you go through a few reps, it does get easier, and you become more adept to being a more successful human being on all fronts, whether that be school or education or fitness or all that stuff. It nothing worth having.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Nothing worth having
You're
is
right,
easy.
100%.
So
yeah,
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But
can you guys see over my shoulder? Can you guys see over my shoulder?
I think Lance is breaking up.
Parked right next to me.
A lot of bikes.
A lot of bikes.
A lot of bikes. Are those e-bikes?
Yes, those are e-bikes. Yes.
Good on them.
Hey, Lance. Hey, Lance. Lance, I need you to tell him something for me real quick. Boo! Boo!
More bikes, more bikes, more people on bikes, I think. So
that exhausts my list. Do you guys have anything that you've seen for 2024 that you want to bring up before we turn this page? Anything?
I'm sure there's lots.
No.
More flashlights on watches.
Dude, that is the best thing ever. I can't tell you. I use it every single day.
Me too.
Multiple times a day. And it's one of those things that I didn't know I needed until I had it. I'm like, oh my God, where have you been all of my life? Granted, we thought it was pretty cool when the flash turned into a flashlight on our phones, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is nowhere as easy to
So
use
much better on a
and
watch.
faster on a watch. So if you don't have a watch with a flashlight on it, go look up whatever brands out there that carry them. We've got all the Garmin. Is it just Garmin?
Really?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yep, that's good. It's helpful.
Yep.
I'm hoping more companies just like steal the idea because it's a great idea.
And they've got the red light on there as well, so it doesn't jack up your eyes in the middle of the night, so you're not stumbling over things. It's awesome. Good job, Garmin. Anything else, boys?
No, that's good.
All right. Let's jump into one last thing. Matt LeGrand, you're up first per usual. What you got, buddy?
I posted a video about the Garmin Forerunner 265. It's a great watch. It's kind of, I wouldn't even call it an entry-level watch. It's for like experienced runners, but it has triathlon mode it has good cycling, good GPS accuracy, good heart rate tracking, all the things. It's got an AMOLED screen. It's really a great watch for 99% of the people. It does not have a flashlight. It does not have mapping, but it has almost everything else. And so like that's a great option for people to consider. Posted a video on that this past week. Go check it out. And then I think coming up tomorrow or soon, we'll just say soon because we don't know when this podcast is coming out, but very soon I'm going to post a video talking about how you should pick a GPS watch in 2024. I did that video last year.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll talk about like what you should consider, things like price and the activities that you want to do, as well as features within the video a little bit, and that'll hopefully give you an idea if you are thinking about buying something in 2024 that might be a good one to check out. So
Top of the list, flashlight.
I did. I put that at the end of the list.
End of the list, huh?
It should be at the top of the list.
Or pretty sticking close to it. I mean, if it came down to like knowing what I know now, and there was 2 solid watches, and one cost a little bit more, but it had a flashlight.
The problem is they cost a lot more. They don't just cost a little bit more.
What's the next tier down for a watch that doesn't have?
What's interesting is like, so you have the Epix Pro, which has a flashlight, which is like, it's like $1,100 or something. It's it's probably one of the most expensive watches that you can get. Great watch. I mean, you can get $1 million watches, right? I mean, like Rolex, blah blah blah. Yeah. But okay, so in that side of things, it's dropping the bucket. But you can get like the same watch without a flashlight, similar, tech, slightly different heart rate sensor. But other than that, like you can get a very very similar watch. All of those are on sale now for like $600 or $700 or something. They just like dropped the price on the old Epix Gen 2 is what it was called.
Yeah.
But it's basically like the Phoenix 7 and the Epix Gen 2. Any of the ones that aren't Pro got a huge price reduction, or they're on sale. And so is it worth it to get the flashlight? Ooh, that's a lot of money to get it, but we all love it.
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty cool.
So
it would be
nice.
Neat to see that trickle down to some of their lower level watches.
It will. I mean, as soon as they come out with the next, I like to think that Garmin looked at the trends and they were like, oh, AMOLED technology is taking off. Like, we can put this on all of our watches. And then they're like looking at the trends and they're like, this flashlight thing's popular. Like, let's put this on all of our watches.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's the case. I haven't actually looked at the Venue 3S, but I'm thinking it doesn't have a flashlight built in. A lot of times they'll use the screen.
I don't know. Matt's opened up a brand new box here with a Venue 3 in it. I can't tell if it does or doesn't have that on there. But
it does not have a flashlight built in. But I think that they have some of their other newer watches are lending itself towards having that flashlight. It's just such a good feature that I hope that that's a trend in 2024. So,
do you think you'll ever see an AI assistant in Garmin watches? I mean, I think that's probably inevitable at some point in time. They'll probably build that into them, but
yeah,
because you get Siri inside the Apple Watch, correct? Are there any other watch brands that do have?
All the major manufacturers are looking to do some large upgrades to their assistants. So like Siri on the Apple Watch or Siri on the iPhone, all of those are going to have like these massive upgrades over this year, probably.
Yeah.
At least over the next 2 years for sure. Garmin, I think where you'll see a lot of AI drop is a lot of like the coaching side of things and their stats within their Garmin Connect application. Having it on the watch, like an assistant on the Garmin watch, maybe. That would be a surprise feature that I would not expect. So that would be great.
Be kind of cool to ask it questions, get some good data.
It would be great, especially if you could ask it questions. I imagine that it would be like, yeah, we know a lot about your training. Ask us, because they do have tons of in-depth information about your training. I wouldn't be that surprised if they were looking at some AI stuff based on like feeding in tons of training information from you and then just saying like, you can ask it whatever you want to ask it and it'll answer. And
sure.
But I'm guessing that'll be on the phone side of things. Maybe not the watch. Eventually, hopefully the watch.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, most of the watches don't have microphones. They don't have speakers. They're missing like hardware, but they could do that. Like this Venue 3 does have that stuff. So hopefully Garmin's on it.
Yep. Cool. Evan Price, one last thing. He's turning on his we can't hear him right now.
He's in the middle of a 5-hour bike ride right now.
Muted. Oh, here he is.
There we go.
All right.
I'm back. No, don't got too much, just plenty of training. But I'm hopefully coming over to Camas this or next weekend.
Yeah.
To hang out with you guys for a second. And Matt, we can probably talk about maybe doing some video like we had discussed with Josh too would be cool.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah. I think for sure one of the things I talked about in my video is like trying to do more videos like with people involved and doing things like that because I do think that they're more enjoyable. And I kind of like that kind of like docu-style video of like telling these people's stories. So we'll see. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Lance Epler, one last thing, bud.
Yeah. I will probably be missing the podcast next week. I am jumping on a plane and flying to the Canary Islands to Tenerife with Coach Ian Gibson. So I'm spending next week in Tenerife, climbing up and down Mount T-Day.
Evan, that was your
plan.
That was your cue for your booze, the e-bike level
you missed
booze.
It.
Boo!
I actually am just incredibly jealous of you, Lance. I can't boo that. That's awesome. I will be very jealously like tracking you then.
You know What's kind of funny, Team Ineos is doing an elevation camp while we'll be there. So most of the team will be on the island as well, doing a team camp. So maybe we'll run into them.
Please just like try to run them down and to just film it, just to give us an idea of what it looks like.
Chase down Gertaint and be like,
hey, Gertaint, we talk about you all the time.
Your biggest fan.
Be my friend.
All right, my one last thing is we do have the Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial coming up on March 9th, which is a Saturday. And it is full steam ahead. Everything's in place. We just launched the first, hey, put this on your calendar this week. So you'll be seeing a lot more information coming down the pipeline on that. It's going to be a really fun event. We've been already working really hard at bringing on a bunch of different sponsors and partners so we can get a ton of prizes for the raffle. We're going to have an awesome silent auction this year. All of the proceeds will go to benefiting the Dialed Cycling Team's juniors program and some other initiatives that we're working on, like the Bikes for Kids community outreach program that we do, buying bikes for less fortunate kids. It's going to be a fun time. E8's going to be doing the chip timing again. We're going to just try and build off of the last 2 years and make it a little bit better. So we're pretty excited about that. It's going to be a fun race. Hopefully we'll see everybody out there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. On that note, I think we are done. Put this thing on ice. Get it? Ice.
We're on ice. We got plenty of ice.
And we will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.
The phrase of the day is, shut up, Evan.
What's everybody drinking today?